Welcome to Newport Vineyards. We would like to take a moment of your time to share with you the workings of our family winery and vineyard. Making wine is a year-round process that involves a lot of time and patience. It also involves many people, and during critical times of the year, many hours. Much of the winemaking process is reliant on Rhode Island's extraordinary microclimate, which is ideal for developing complex flavors in wine. Moving up the coast of the United States, the Gulf Stream's warm waters run straight into southern New England. The year-round benefits of the Gulf Stream are conditions that provide a long, cool growing season. One of the biggest threats to grapes is frost. But being surrounded by the warm ocean water extends the fruit's ripening period into late fall. Retired Navy Captain Richard Alexander realized the area's potential and started planting grapes back in the 1970s. He plants his first wine grapes on his beautiful Hope Lands estate. He runs the winery until he retires in 1995 when the Nunes family acquires the operation.
When my brother Paul and I purchased the winery in 1995, we wanted to expand while protecting the farmland of Aquinic Island. So what we did was form a partnership with the Aquinic Land Trust, the state of Rhode Island, and the Nunes family. Together, we were able to preserve over 70 acres that has been in the Nunes family since 1917. Now all of this farmland will be protected from development forever.
The island's farmlands are some of the richest soils on the East Coast. It's a deep, silty loam that drains moderately well, yet it retains enough moisture to resist the need for excessive watering during the summer months. We have been careful to select grape varieties that match our unique microclimate and soil profiles to ensure that we consistently produce high-quality grapes. As a matter of fact, our climate and growing season are very similar to the Bordeaux region of France.
But climate and soil can only go so far in growing grapes. There are a lot of man-hours involved to ensure that the vines have a healthy and productive environment. Sunlight is the main component when it comes to growing grapes, so a lot of time is spent thinning the canopy to maximize the sun's exposure on the fruit. One of the tools up for the task is the leafing machine.
Okay, so what the leafing machine hopes to accomplish is to eliminate a lot of these leaves you see right in front of the clusters in what we call the fruit zone here in the canopy. This allows for greater heat, greater airflow, and also makes harvesting much easier.
Increasing the airflow and sunlight around the grapes allows the fruit to mature and ripen into complex, full-flavored wine. Here at Newport Vineyards, we use the vertical shoot position trellis, or VSP, to grow our grapes. The use of VSP is pretty standard in cool climate viticulture. The effect of VSP is to keep the canopy pretty thin to maximize the sunlight exposure.
Right now we're in the fruit set stage of development, just past bloom, where you can see the berries are sizing up and where the canopy is getting a little bit too big, so we're trying to keep it in line. So we're going to hedge some of the leaves, cutting off these lateral leaves, lateral branches that you see right here, and take a little off the top. By keeping the canopy thin, we're allowing good airflow, which minimizes our potential for fungus problems, mildew problems, and also maximizes the photosynthesis.
We strongly believe that the wine is made out in the vineyard, so we repeat this process through the summer months until the grapes begin to ripen. Prior to fall, we will remove a large portion of the crop. It's called green harvesting, and it ensures maximum sugar production and ripeness in the remaining grapes.
As we get into October, we'll taste the grapes for flavor. As we feel the fruit is mature and ready for harvesting, we'll bring the grapes into the winery, test for pH, sugar, and acidity. This will ensure the grapes are at their peak and will make the best wine.
As we wait for the decision to begin the harvest, it's critical we protect the ripening grapes from the birds. Birds will peck holes in the fruit that not only damages the fruit, but can attract unwanted insects and cause rot. Bird netting is a common farming solution that encourages our avian friends to find an alternative food supply. Once the decision is made to harvest, the netting is removed, and the busiest time of the year begins. There are two harvesting methods we use to pick our grapes. One method is by hand. Certain lots of grapes are hand harvested for reserve wines such as our Vintners Select Riesling and Merlot. These grapes are hand selected, then carted off by tractor in these small yellow containers called lugs. The hand harvest is then transferred to these large blue bins and sent back to the winery for pressing. We are rewarded for this labor-intensive approach by the creation of our best-tasting wines. Our other method is with a machine harvester that can harvest 1.5 acres of grapes in an hour. The harvester allows us to pick a lot of grapes at a short notice. The decision to harvest is often done quickly due to sudden extreme changes in the weather. Harvest time generally begins in September, but the majority takes place in late October, and during some years, early November. The last to be picked is our specialty, the Vidal Ice Wine. We let our Vidal grapes hang on the vines until they are hit by at least 3 hard frosts. The grapes are then pressed frozen, and only the richest nectars and flavors are released. The yield of juice is only 1/3 of the normal grape, and the results are delectable. After the grapes are collected from the vines, we bring them back to the winery. Inside this pneumatic press is a large airbag that is connected to a compressor. The air inflates the bag to squeeze the juice from the grapes. The grapes are gently pressed to release the rich sweetness of the juice. The press time will last up to 2 hours when the juice is transferred into our large fermentation tanks. Once the grapes are destemmed, they go directly to fermentation with the skins. The skins are what give the red wine its red color. The skins will stay in contact with the wine for up to 2 weeks to extract the color, aroma, and flavor. Red wines are fermented at temperatures from 75 to 90 degrees. This temperature helps with the extraction of color and flavor. Once we're happy with the flavor, we transfer what we call the red wine must back into the press for one last squeeze. At this point, the skins are separated from the juice, and the wine moves on to be aged in our oak barrels. We We age our wine in French oak barrels to create complex aromas and flavors in our wines. White wines, like our Chardonnay, will stay in the barrels for 8 to 10 months. Reds will remain in the barrels from 6 months up to 2 years. To turn grape juice into wine, we add winemaker's yeast. The yeast eats the sugar in the juice and in turn creates alcohol and carbon dioxide.
We'll monitor the quality of the wine from the moment we press until the time we bottle. We also note the flavor profiles of each of our wines during the fermentation period. We'll use this information in future years to maintain consistency within our wines.
This machine can bottle 130 cases per hour and is the final step in the winemaking process. The bottles are loaded by the case at the far end of the line. The first section is the rinser that removes any impurities from the bottles. Then the bottles are sparged with nitrogen to remove oxygen from the bottles. Shuttling along, the next section is where the bottles are filled. Today, it's our Cabernet Sauvignon. The full bottles then cycle through a probe. The probe will actually sift the excess wine off the top, dropping the wine to the proper level. Once the bottle is full, there are 2 methods for sealing the bottle. The first option is with a traditional cork. Our vacuum corker can use both natural and synthetic corks.
We are currently bottling nearly all of our wine with the best closure of all, the Stelvin screw cap. Flavors are better preserved, so our wine will be fresh and bright when they're open. Recent studies have found that both red and white wine age better with screw caps than natural corks. Screw caps are also resealable, and they're made out of aluminum so they can be recycled. So you can see it was an easy decision for us to transition into screw caps.
The last section of the bottling line brings us through the foiling and labeling mechanisms. The foil is dropped onto the top of the bottle and sealed to ensure freshness. The bottles are then completed with the final touch, a Newport Vineyards label. After what could be up to 2 years for some wines, they finally are boxed up and shipped to our many wholesalers. Of course, we keep some in stock for visitors like you that come by for a sampling or two. And we also keep ample supply for our Case Club parties. To reward our customers, we have a special Case Club program that will allow up to a 20% discount for life on all case purchases. As a member, you are entitled to complimentary tastings and will be invited to special events such as our not-to-be-missed case parties. In all, Newport Vineyards produces over 20 different wines and up to 20,000 cases a year. We strongly believe that wine should be fun and unpretentious, and that everyone's taste is different. Our goal is to be sure that you leave here today falling in love with at least one of our fine varieties of wine. Thank you for visiting Newport Vineyards.